The case was strange from the start. Everyone agreed on that. Because the woman who vanished wasn't running, wasn't hiding, and wasn't in any kind of trouble. At least that's what they all thought. And yet, she disappeared just minutes after making one single phone call. A phone call that changed everything. A phone call that would lead to one of the most unusual convictions the police had ever made. A conviction that didn't sit right with anyone. Not even the officers who signed the report. Her name was Sarah Adeyemi, 32, calm, soft-spoken, a primary school teacher. The kind of woman whose daily life was predictable. Home, school, market, home. No enemies. No drama. Nothing that could explain what happened that night. She stepped out of her apartment at exactly 8:47 p.m. She told her neighbor she needed fresh air, and she walked down the street with her phone pressed to her ear. CCTV saw her pacing, talking, then suddenly stopping as if she had heard something that shook her. She ended the call. She looked over her shoulder, and then she walked out of frame. That was the last confirmed sighting of her. The police found her phone the next morning on the pavement. Screen cracked, still warm from the night before. But the disturbing part? The call she made had lasted only 9 seconds. And she never said a word during those 9 seconds. Not one. She dialed a number. The person picked. Sarah breathed into the phone as if terrified. And then she hung up. The number she called belonged to her boyfriend, Daniel. Naturally, he became the first suspect. He reported her missing before anyone else. He cried during the interrogation. He begged the police to find her. But something about him felt too emotional, too dramatic, too rehearsed. And when the police checked his phone, they discovered he had deleted 3 messages from the previous night. Suspicious. Very suspicious. Enough to arrest him. The city was convinced he did it. The evidence wasn't strong, but it was loud. Deleted messages. A strange phone call. A woman who vanished. A boyfriend with a shaky alibi. The judge called it a straightforward case. The jury didn't even deliberate for 2 hours. Daniel was sentenced to life in prison. But that was only the beginning. Because nothing about the case added up. Not the timing. Not the behavior. Not the feeling in the air. And definitely not the phone call. Everyone felt it. Something was off. 3 weeks after Daniel's conviction, a witness came forward. An elderly man who lived near the alley where Sarah had last been seen. He reported hearing a woman scream that night. He said he had looked through his window and seen 2 men dragging someone into a dark car. Not 1 man, 2. Neither of them matched Daniel's height or build. When the police asked why he hadn't spoken earlier, he simply said, "I thought it was just an argument. I didn't know the woman was missing." Strange but reasonable. Still, it was a major inconsistency. A big one. A crack that shouldn't be ignored. But there was something even stranger. Sarah's phone records revealed she had tried dialing another number seconds before she called Daniel. She had dialed it halfway, then stopped. The number wasn't saved in her contacts. It wasn't a friend. It wasn't a family member. It wasn't a business. It belonged to a phone with no registered owner. A burner line. And that burner line had been active near the same alley at the exact same time Sarah vanished. The police reopened the case quietly. No press. No noise. They didn't want the public to know that their earlier conclusion may have been wrong. They traced the burner line. Slowly. Painfully. Every clue felt like stepping into a darker version of the story. Then the twist dropped like a hammer. The call Sarah made to Daniel wasn't the last thing she did. Her phone had connected to a second cell tower moments later. And that could only happen if she had still been moving. Still alive. Still with someone. Someone who wasn't Daniel. And then, from nowhere, a woman walked into a police station 3 towns away and said 8 terrifying words. "I know what happened to your missing teacher." Her name was Vivian. She was shaking. She said she had been living with guilt for weeks. And then she confessed everything. She confessed that Sarah had been targeted. She confessed that Sarah had been watched. She confessed that Sarah's quiet, predictable life had made her the perfect victim. She confessed that the burner phone belonged to her brother, a man involved in kidnapping operations. A man who chose people who were easy to snatch and impossible to track. A man who used fear as bait. But the twist? Vivian added one detail that froze everyone. Sarah wasn't supposed to call anyone, she whispered. She tried to call me. She knew the number. We warned her never to use it. She panicked when she saw us coming. She dialed wrong. She dialed her boyfriend instead. The room went silent. Sarah had been in contact with the kidnappers before. Not willingly, not freely, but because she had been forced into a trafficking ring months earlier. She had been threatened into silence. She had tried to escape. And the night she vanished was the night she finally tried to run. That 9-second call? A cry for help she never got to complete. The police raided the kidnappers' hideout. They found the car. They found the equipment. They found the burner phone. But they didn't find Sarah. Not alive. Not dead. Not anywhere. Daniel was released. His conviction overturned. His name cleared. But he came out of prison a broken man. He said the hardest part was knowing that while he sat in a cell being blamed for Sarah's disappearance, she had been out there, alone, terrified, and waiting for someone to come for her. The public wanted answers. The police wanted answers. Daniel wanted answers. But the only truth was the cruelest one. Sometimes justice arrives too late. Sometimes the right person is punished. Sometimes the innocent suffer twice. And sometimes people vanish in ways that leave scars on everyone left behind.